Welcome back to another episode in the series where I read a book so you don't have to, where I analyze the book in my entrepreneur brain and I just give you the takeaways, the tactics so you can implement today into your business. I hope it helps. Today we're going over a book called How to Persuade People Who Don't Want to Be Persuaded. Honestly, I had never even heard of it until I saw it at the library and it is now overdue. I read this one a little bit more slow, but let's start. The author here, Joel Bauer, comes from a magician background. So I'm giving you like what I learned, what I'm going to be implementing into my business. I found a couple of themes overall in this book. The first one is to overcome your fear of objection, to draw in your listener, how to use metaphors to make a point, how to master a quick pitch, and how to look the part. In almost every chapter of this book, he talks about how you should make a metaphor out of something, out of whether it's the buyer's objection, the seller's objection, the agent's objection. You should have metaphors in the bank, in your mind, to be able to pull out and talk to people and use that to convince them or persuade them rather, sorry Joel, persuade them to either work with you as an agent, to list their house, or help them buy. So the first thing I'm going to cover as part of this book is how to create a metaphor. I am not good at metaphors. I'm not good at colloquialisms. Can't even obviously say that word. I just don't have the phrases. I know this video is about me, but I personally am not good with storytelling. And here I am telling a story. Well, anyway, but I found it very, very intriguing how he is able to make metaphors out of anything. And it takes practice. There are a couple of questions to ask yourself when you are creating a metaphor. The first one, you have to know what are the most important points that you want to come across to the renter that wants to buy, to the buyer that wants to upgrade, to the seller that wants to list their home, to the agent that wants to join your team. That's number one. Number two is how do you explain each point? Number three is how do the listeners actually take it? Number four is how do you make it even more compelling? What part of your speech is your least compelling point? What's the most common objection you hear? And how can you make that even more appealing as well? So those are things to think about, to have in your mind, in your bank, and as you're talking to each person, whether they are giving you objection A or B or C, you already know them in your mind. And the author states that majority of people that you talk to, when they have objections, they usually just have one primary one. It's either not enough money, not enough time, not enough freedom, or not enough productivity or sense of contribution to the world. So as you're talking to a prospect and they give you one of those objections, what you actually want to do is press into that, dig into that, and know that it's not being evil or malicious. In his words, it's only being evil if you dig into their pain points, if you don't even have a solution. But you have the solution. So you want to know exactly where they're coming from, exactly what all the hesitations are, but that primary one, dig into that one at least 3 layers deep, because guess what? You have the solution. Even if you don't personally have the solution, you could potentially refer them to another agent who knows how to solve that problem. As I was reading this book, I was thinking about broker owners. Usually they think that the more that they hire on agents and bring agents and grow their team, the more freedom they're going to have, when in fact it actually does the opposite. They end up having less time and they usually have to either train those agents or pay for someone else to train them. So that means that they end up having less money. And it overall ends in them being less profitable as they grow and have more and more agents join their team, as opposed to when they first started or when they were just a solo agent. So a lot of broker owners or team leaders that are looking to get their time back, if you're interviewing one of them to recruit them to your brokerage, ask them how much time they have now. Where are they now? What is their goal? And you fill in the gap, both for buyers and sellers. That's what all of the agents in our community are trained to do at 5 Pillars. And if you're just focused on working with buyers and sellers, if you're talking to a buyer and the objection is, I don't have enough money, and they first start out saying, well, I'm just waiting for the real estate market to crash, you know that chances are it's not going to crash in the near future. Of course, don't hold me to it. If you're talking to those buyers that are waiting on the sidelines, and after peeling back the onion saying, what about waiting on the sidelines is important to you? What about the market crash is important to you? Is it the lack of capital right now? Is it the overall loan that you don't want to have? Find out what exactly it is that they are coming from. Don't just take their first level objection as the truth, because rarely is it. They have an underlying truth several layers down that you need to get to. Once you find out that fear, that is when you can talk to them about how you can negotiate deals right now so they're coming out of pocket just $500 to buy an entire property, or that you can help those buyers look at homes where the seller is paying at least half of your compensation. Of course, compensations are negotiable non-negotiable. Or maybe they don't want to pay the buyer's agent anything, so you can show them homes that the seller is paying your full fee. Or before nixing those homes, you can say, hey, I can show you homes. I'll let you know exactly how much the seller is willing to pay my compensation. And if you want, we can place the offer to where we're asking the seller to pay for my entire compensation, so you don't come out of pocket for that. There's so many different scenarios. I'm just making stuff up here. But the overall point is to peel back the layers and do not be shy in asking, what about that is important to you? What about that is important to you? What about that is important to you? Until you finally get to the raw fear level. Or if you're a recruiter, which I am a recruiter pretty much, and I also still sell a ton of homes every year. So when I talk to agents that are on a different team that are looking to get out from a different brokerage because they're on a 50-50 split, it's more than just, I feel like leaving. It's more than just, I'm really like spinning my wheels and I don't really have like a lot of money at the end of the day. I don't end up taking home a lot of money. It's more than that. It's usually the team leader is actually playing favorites, and I'm not one of them. It may be that they don't have the time to go to the team meeting, so therefore they're not getting the leads. Maybe they join a team that focuses on cold calling, and cold calling doesn't go well with them, which, trust me, I get it. I don't cold call. In that case, that objection is actually fear of productivity or not enough contribution to the world. If you join a team and that team force you to cold call or do any sort of lead generation strategy that you didn't like, it's not going to be sustainable. You're not going to like it. You're barely going to get money because you don't like doing it. And overall, it's not going to be a good experience for you when it could have been had you joined another team. For example, in my community, we are heavy on social media. We do not pay for leads. Of course, there are some people in our entire 5 Pillars community that do focus on mailers or paying for Zillow, etc. But my specific community within 5 Pillars, we focus on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. In other words, free stuff where people see our personality and then people book a call with us because they already feel like they know us. In this video that you're watching right now, I feel like you're getting a sense of what my personality is. That way, when you book a call with me, if you decide to ever join me at eXp Realty and partner with me, where we don't have any team splits, by the way, that's the whole point of that example, you already feel like you know me. And at that point, we can skip through the, how's the weather and how's your brokerage type thing and just skip to, dude, what are your goals? Where are you at now? I will help you fill in the gap. We have the resources. We have the trainings, so let's just get started, and I want to help you achieve your goals. Of course, I can't want it more than you. A lot of times too, I talk to real estate agents that are more so focused on autonomy over their business. They want their photo on their cards and on the for sale sign of their listings. They want listings, period. A lot of times in teams, people are either only a buyer's agent and they can never work up to a listing agent, or you have to work rentals first before you can then work up to buyers, which is crazy. There's a lot of babysitting or rather treating adults like babies. And dude, you're a grown ass person. Like, I can't imagine joining a team and being told I can only work rentals for the first year or for the first 5 transactions. No, dude, I'm gonna make my own business, but that's how I am. And that's how I align with people too. People that book calls with me, they know that they can be a listing agent from the start. We have the blueprint that'll make you $100K your first year should you follow the checklist. I know because I made the checklist and I made well over $100K, and I've been making well over $100K, and it works. So as long as you do the work, it works. I mean, it's a win-win. So therefore, no hand holding. We give you the full blueprint and it's up to you to do it. One thing that I'm going to be implementing that I suggest you do too, that popped into my mind while I was reading this book, is I'm going to look up all of my past transactions for buyers, anybody that purchased with PMI on a conventional loan, since as you know, PMI for FHA loans will never go away as of right now. So I'm going to look up the few, because I don't do actually too many conventional, I mainly do VA loans. I'm going to look up the few buyers that have purchased with less than 20% down payment on a conventional loan that has PMI. And I'm going to continue updating them on when it would be about their time for them to call their servicer and get that PMI removed, saving them likely hundreds of dollars every month. That is a great way to follow up with past clients to make them future clients again, and really forever clients. Another big part of this book is about grabbing attention. Overall, to get attention, to be remembered as a real estate agent, your messages must do 2 things. 1, evoke emotion, and 2, be personalized messages. If you send messages to people that evoke emotion and are personalized, you are more than twice as likely to even get a response. Therefore, blasting those texts out to 10, 20 plus people at a time that doesn't have their name, or it does have their name, but it's clearly a copy and paste, at that point, you're blowing your chances of, or significantly reducing them, of getting a response. And what you want is a response. What you don't want to do is just blast out text messages and them seeing your text and being like, oh, it's Allie again with another spam. Clearly, this isn't personalized for me, so I'm just gonna ignore it. Another thing you can implement and start right now is something called a quick pitch opening. It's pretty much an elevator speech, but really it's not a whole speech. It's a one sentence. It's a lone sentence that tells people what you do, and it needs to hook them. So the hook and what you offer. And that comes after your first sentence. So your first sentence is, hey, I'm Allie Garced. I'm a real estate agent. And then here comes the quick pitch opening. I'm a real estate agent who helps agents make $200,000 every year. So as you are thinking about what you want your quick pitch opening to be, whether it's targeting listings or buyers, etc., think about the result that you want to leave the audience with. So notice how I didn't say I just help agents scale their business. That is it's really just too vague. That doesn't hook anyone. That definitely doesn't stand out. Everyone promises that they help to scale your business, and it's not true. Instead, deliver the specific result you're going to give that avatar. If you are focused on listings in your zip code, you can say, of course, after doing research and marketing and making sure that this is correct, somebody in our community in 5 Pillars that works mainly listings in Connecticut, he did his research, and so his quick pitch opening is, I help sellers net 10% more than the rest of the zip code. Because it's true, he does, because of his negotiation skills. So at that point, me as the seller, I'm like, oh wow, I can net 10% more by using him as my listing agent? I'm gonna do that. What I am saying to buyers at this time in this market for when I help Tucson buyers is I help buyers get instant equity upon closing because we negotiate so much. That usually helps those buyers that are a little bit fearful of where the market is going. If I buy a house, what if the market crashes? Not fully understanding that the payment stays the same. But if the buyers that I'm working with had originally had their objection of, I just, a little bit cash poor, I don't want to come out of pocket a lot, then also what I've done with clients is I'll say I help buyers buy with the least amount of cash out of their pocket, the average being $700, which is the truth at this time. Overall, as you're thinking about your quick pitch opening, it should invoke the next question from them saying, really? How do you do that? So whatever that quick pitch opening is, it should force them to say, how do you do that? To which then you would respond, it depends on your particular scenario. And since this conversation can go in many different ways, let's jump on a call so that way I know exactly what you're looking for. Overall, that conversation should end in one of 3 ways. 1 is they become a prospect or a client. 2, either you or they realize that they wouldn't be a prospect or a client. Or 3, that person knows someone else who would be a client for you. That's the quick pitch opening. Next is the slogan pitch. And this is very, very simple. This is for those, especially high D personalities, where they don't want the story. They don't want the fluff. They definitely don't want the pitch. They just want the outcome. So just give them the outcome. You have to figure out a way to deliver that fast and also in an entertaining way. A good section of this book also focuses on how to handle objections. The first thing that this author suggests doing is to pretend not to understand the objection. So for example, if they say, what do you mean I have to sign a buyer broker? I just want to take a look at this house. No one's ever asked me to do this before. What he suggests, and this is where I would play with some words a bit, unless you're the type of person where this would sound natural. The way that he worded it, it would not sound natural to me. He suggests just taking their exact words and saying, what do you mean? I don't understand. Can you help clarify that? So he would suggest saying, it seems like you're unwilling to sign the buyer broker exclusive agreement. That form would be explaining that I'd be your agent. Can you help me understand where you're coming from? Or can you help me understand what you mean? So for the example, if you're looking for listings and you help, say, if this is the truth, if you help sellers net 10% more than the other agents in your zip code, and say your fee is apples, I'm not going to get into the objection, you will not get me. Say your fee is apples. That's literally it, just apples. And the seller's objection is, oh, I've never had to pay apples before. I don't really know about that. He would suggest that you respond with, it seems like my price is apples more than the other real estate agents that you're interviewing, and you're not willing to pay that. Can you explain what you mean? By doing those in either scenario, in any scenario, it forces them to elaborate on what their objection is. And the reason why he says to even just say, explain yourself, is because a lot of times people will talk themselves out of their own objection. Because for example, people might say, yeah, you cost more than the other real estate agents that I've been interviewing. And yeah, you say that you're gonna net me more, 10% more, which could be like $5,000. But I don't know, it's just like, it's uncomfortable. And then if you say, that's exactly it. If I'm going to net you 10% more, which would be say $5,000 more, would you say that outcome is greater than the X amount of apples that it's going to cost you to hire me as opposed to someone else? Slam dunk. Either way, as you are getting these objections, always respond with feel, felt, found. And again, this is something that our community super focuses on too, especially in our trainings when you first get started. And in case you've never heard of feel, felt, found, you literally have to say that. I understand how you feel. Some of my past clients felt that way too, but when they found me and I listed their home in the market, they found they were able to net not only 10% more than their neighbors, but they also had a 5-star experience, and they told me they barely even felt stressed. So that's how you use feel, felt, found. A third way to go about this is to make their objection also your objection. So that way it shows that both of you are already on the same team. So for example, okay, I cost X apples more than the other real estate agents that you're interviewing. So our objection is to make my services more affordable to you. And if they say yes, that means that they want your services. They just want it at a cheaper price. So then you can work on how to make that more affordable to them. And this is where our community, we go deep into sort of like an a la carte. And as soon as you join our community, we give you the guidelines and the entire playbook on how to get and net more as a real estate agent, more than other real estate agents are making when they list their properties. Of course, commissions are negotiable. This is the time to negotiate. But previously, while other agents may have been making a certain amount, a lot of times we were making more. But that's because we provided that much more value and we help those sellers net even more. If that person says no, the author says that that means you have uncovered a false objection. So therefore you have to keep asking questions to get their real objection because you're interviewing them for a reason. So again, back to if they say, yes, I do want your services, I just want it at a cheaper price. That's when you can pull something out of this book. And what also Alex Hormozy says a lot is, well, what if I throw in a free cleaning services for you? What if I throw in 2 free cleaning services, one before photos and one before move out? And of course, those are just 2 random examples, but that's the part of negotiating your compensation, your value of what you're giving to the sellers. If you want more of this, this is what we talk about every single day in our community, so you can join us. The link is below. You would have to be joining us at eXp Realty, of course. That's when you'll become part of our inner circle. A fourth way to overcome this objection could just be to explain the reasoning behind that price. The price is this amount. Of course, it's negotiable. We do charge this amount, this negotiable amount, because we offer that much more than other real estate agents. So you get what you pay for kind of thing. The fifth way is to go back to the primary purpose. If their main purpose is to sell their property so that way they could move across the country, be closer to their kids and their grandkids, and the sellers don't want to list at the price that you suggested, they want to list $50K over, then you just explain to them. If we're listing at this higher amount, that means that your property is going to sit for likely an extra 4 to 6 weeks. Is that going to impede on your travel to move from this state to the next state to be with your grandkids and your kids? Again, go back to the primary motivation of why they're even looking to sell or buy in the first place. And the sixth way to overcome this objection is to get them to see the consequences of not working with you. If you didn't have me generating eyeballs to help you get buyers through the door, what would you do that's different with another agent? And this is you trying to get them to verbalize what specifically they're looking for. So my real estate partner, who would be your real estate partner if you decided to join me at eXp, her name is Shelby Johnson. She's my direct sponsor. So again, if you name me as your sponsor, you get me, Shelby, and everyone above us, and everyone's an icon agent. Everyone makes well over 100K a year. I think they make like over 300K a year. Anyway, so one of her listing propositions and her guarantees is a certain amount of views on the property digitally. So I think it's like 100,000 views or 10,000 views, something like very high. So if that's going to be similar to your guarantee, you can see that that would be a great way to find the consequences of them using a real estate agent that doesn't get them those kind of views. So I guarantee 10,000 views on your property with qualified people that are actually looking to move to Lexington, Kentucky. Tell me, if you were to work with another agent who doesn't guarantee that, what would you do differently with that agent? I'm curious. At that point, again, it's going to be them talking about what it would look like for them working with an agent that's not you, that's not as good as you, even though you charge more. Overall, I found this book kind of magician-y and a little bit too icky, but it had some really, really good concepts that I see that other popular people in the space right now, Alex Hormozy, people in my community are using. This is exactly the entire list of what I'm going to be implementing into my business. Again, it's a lot of scripts focused. There are way more other videos of where this came from. Go crush it and get some listings.